My husband asked for a divorce the same morning I approved his promotion. He sat across from me at our breakfast table, stirring his coffee without looking up. His voice was calm, almost rehearsed. I don't think this marriage works anymore. For a second, I thought he was joking. Then he placed a neatly folded envelope on the table. Divorce papers. No argument. No warning. Just signatures waiting for my name. My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 34 years old. And according to my husband, I was nothing more than a lazy housewife who spent his money while he worked. You've had years to build a career, Ethan said coldly. Instead, you've stayed home pretending to be busy. I need someone who actually has ambition. Every word landed like ice. I looked around the kitchen we had designed together, the house we had bought together, the dreams we had once shared. Then I noticed something. A lipstick stain on his coffee mug. Not my shade. Before I could ask about it, footsteps echoed from the hallway. A woman walked downstairs wearing one of Ethan's dress shirts. My heart stopped. It was Vanessa, my best friend for nearly 10 years. She froze the moment our eyes met. Claire, she whispered. Ethan didn't even look embarrassed. He simply sighed. I was going to tell you later. The silence that followed hurt more than any scream ever could. I stared at the two people I trusted most. One had promised to love me forever. The other had promised she'd never betray me. Both promises had died in my kitchen. Vanessa lowered her eyes. I'm sorry. I wanted to cry. Instead, I smiled. Not because I wasn't hurt, because neither of them knew the truth. For the last 6 years, I hadn't been unemployed. Every morning after Ethan left for work, I locked myself inside, my home office, and ran a technology company under a different name, a company worth tens of millions of dollars. The same company that had hired Ethan 18 months earlier. He believed he earned every promotion through talent. He had no idea every raise, every bonus, and every opportunity had been approved by one person, me. I never told him because I wanted someone who loved me, not my success. Instead, he looked at the woman who secretly owned his entire career and called her worthless. As Ethan slid the divorce papers closer, my phone vibrated. The caller ID displayed a name neither of them could see, chairman of the board. I declined the call without saying a word, because something told me the biggest surprise of Ethan's life wasn't the divorce. It was about to begin. I quietly picked up the divorce papers and placed them back on the table. I'll have my attorney review them, I said. Ethan smirked. Attorney? Claire, let's be realistic. You don't need to waste money on lawyers. There isn't much to divide anyway. I almost laughed. He believed I couldn't afford legal advice. In reality, I owned the law firm that had represented my company for years. Vanessa finally broke the silence. Claire, please don't make this difficult. I looked at her for a long moment. Difficult? I asked softly. You've been living with my husband, standing in my kitchen, and you're asking me not to make this difficult? Neither of them answered. Instead, Ethan stood and adjusted his tie. I have an important meeting this morning. I know, I replied. He frowned. You know? I nodded. I hope it goes well. He gave me a confused look before grabbing his briefcase and walking out the front door. Vanessa followed him, avoiding my eyes. The house became silent. The moment their car disappeared, my phone rang again. This time I answered. Good morning, Ms. Bennett, the chairman said. We're all set for today's executive board meeting. Will you be attending in person? Yes, I replied calmly. I'll be there. After hanging up, I walked upstairs and opened a hidden closet behind a bookshelf. Gone were the leggings and oversized sweaters Ethan loved to mock. In their place hung tailored designer suits, luxury heels, and a small safe. Inside the safe was a black folder marked Confidential to our executive ownership documents. My name appeared on every page. Founder, majority shareholder, chief executive officer. The company Ethan proudly told everyone he worked for was mine. I smiled for the first time that morning, not because I wanted revenge, because I finally understood something. A man who truly loves you never measures your worth by your paycheck. As I prepared for the board meeting, another notification appeared on my phone. It was from Human Resources. Subject, promotion announcement, Ethan Carter. Attached was the official approval letter, the very promotion I had signed the previous evening. My thumb hovered over the screen. One click, and the promotion could disappear before lunchtime. I didn't press it. Not yet, because something felt off. Minutes later, my executive assistant called. Ms. Bennett, she said nervously, there's something you need to see before the meeting. What is it? We received an anonymous complaint about Ethan. My heartbeat slowed. What kind of complaint? There was a long pause. Then she whispered, It accuses him of using confidential company information to impress someone outside the business. I closed my eyes. Vanessa. If the accusation was true, this wasn't just betrayal. It could become corporate fraud, and neither of them had any idea. I was the person who would decide what happened next. I arrived at headquarters, through the private executive, entrance 15 minutes before the board meeting. No one in the lobby knew me as Ethan's wife. To thousands of employees, I was simply Claire Bennett, the founder who rarely appeared in person. Inside the boardroom, my executive assistant placed a thick folder in front of me. Everything is here, she said quietly. The complaint, the emails, and the security report. I opened the first page. My stomach tightened. Screenshots, private company forecasts, confidential client proposals, internal financial projections, documents that only senior employees could access. Someone had leaked them. The investigation traced every file to one account. Ethan Carter. I closed the folder. Has anyone confronted him? Not yet, my assistant replied. We were waiting for your decision. Before I could answer, another board member entered. Ms. Bennett, Ethan has already arrived for his promotion presentation. Promotion presentation. He had no idea this morning would end very differently. Bring him in, I said. A minute later, the conference room door opened. Ethan walked in wearing the same confident smile he'd worn at breakfast. He didn't even look at me. His eyes stayed on the executives seated around the table. Then, he finally noticed the chair at the head of the room, and the woman sitting in it. His face went completely pale. Claire? The room fell silent. One director looked confused. You two know each other? I answered before Ethan could speak. Very well. Ethan stared at me as if he'd seen a ghost. This isn't possible. I folded my hands on the table. Please, Mr. Carter, take your seat. His legs barely seemed able to move. He sat down without taking his eyes off me. I've been looking forward to this meeting, I said calmly. So have we, another executive smiled. Today we're discussing your promotion. For a brief second, hope returned to Ethan's face. Then I slid another folder across the table. But before that, we need to discuss the confidential information that left this company. His smile vanished. I don't know what you're talking about. The head of compliance activated the screen behind him. Email after email appeared. Security logs, access records, timestamps, every file connected to Ethan's employee account. Then came the final slide. A photograph. Vanessa sitting across from Ethan in a restaurant. Between them, one of the company's confidential reports. The room became deadly quiet. Ethan looked at me with panic in his eyes. Claire, please. Let me explain. I met his gaze without raising my voice. This morning you told me I had no ambition. You divorced me because you believed I didn't work. I let those words hang in the air. Then I spoke the sentence that changed everything. I wasn't just working, Ethan. I was the woman who built this company from nothing, and the person who signed your employment contract. The boardroom was silent. No one spoke. No one even looked away. Ethan stared at me as if the ground beneath him had disappeared. His hands trembled. You're the owner? He whispered. I nodded. Majority owner, founder, CEO. He sank back into his chair, trying to process the truth. For nearly 2 years, he had walked through these offices believing he worked for strangers. He never imagined the woman he called lazy had signed every major decision that shaped his career. The chairman finally broke the silence. Mr. Carter, based on the evidence presented today, your promotion has been permanently withdrawn. He paused before continuing. Effective immediately, your employment with this company is terminated. Ethan's face turned completely white. No, please. This is a misunderstanding. The head of compliance calmly replied. The security logs, email records, and witness statements say otherwise. Security escorted Ethan toward the door. Just before leaving, he turned back to me. Claire, I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I still love you. For the first time that day, I smiled. Not because he was suffering, because I finally understood the difference between love and convenience. You don't miss me, Ethan, I said quietly. You miss the life you thought you'd lost. He lowered his head. He knew I was right. 2 days later, Vanessa requested a meeting. She looked exhausted. The confidence she had worn in my kitchen was gone. I didn't know, she whispered through tears. I swear. Ethan told me you were living off his money. He said you refused to work. I believed her. Not because it excused her betrayal, but because lies had become Ethan's greatest talent. I hope one day you find peace, I told her. But our friendship ended the moment you stopped respecting it. She nodded silently and walked away. Months passed. The divorce was finalized without drama. I kept my company. I kept my home. Most importantly, I kept my self-respect. A year later, our company celebrated its biggest milestone yet. As I stood on stage in front of thousands of employees, I looked across the audience. There were ambitious people, honest people, people who earned success through integrity instead of deception. In that moment, I realized something. The greatest revenge isn't taking everything from the person who hurt you. It's proving you never needed them to begin with. If Ethan had simply asked what I did each day, if he had chosen trust instead of assumptions, if he had valued character more than appearances, our story might have ended, but he judged my worth without ever knowing the truth. And in doing so, he didn't just lose his marriage. He lost the greatest opportunity of his life. As I walked off the stage, my phone buzzed with a message from the chairman. Congratulations, Claire. Here's to the future. I smiled, locked my phone, and stepped forward. Not toward revenge, but toward a future I had built with my own hands.